2, 1. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. We're going to be asking a question in regards to life under President Biden. Now, similar to some of the other recent lives, this live is going to be a tale of two different topics. Number one, we're going to be asking about life under Biden. How's it going for you so far? As we know, Biden is coming to a conclusion of his entire first term. We're less than 11 months, a little bit pretty close to 10 months remaining before the next presidential election. So we're asking, how are you doing currently under the Biden administration? Probably, most likely, we're going to have a discussion about your economic concerns under Biden. Grocery bills, what you're paying at the pump. Has your salary changed at all? Now, in a tough economy, if your salary goes up, it may help. If it goes down, it's absolutely going to hurt. So we're going to be talking about how folks are doing under the Biden administration. However, as I stated, this is a two-topic live. The second topic, I want to talk conspiratorial. In other words, we're talking about that one day in our lifetime that now may live in infamy. We're talking about January 6th. Why are there so many different definitions as to what took place on January 6th coming from Republicans and Republicans alone? In other words, 34%. A recent poll, I know how you folks feel about polls, and I'm going to give it to you anyway. A recent poll suggests that 34% of Republicans believe the FBI is responsible for what happened on January 6th. That's one definition. Another definition, that it was perpetrated by Antifa. That's a different definition. A few folks believe it was Black Lives Matter, maybe at the behest of Nancy Pelosi. That's a different definition. However, the former president, number 45, says it was a peaceful protest by his own supporters. He didn't suggest Antifa or the FBI. He suggested that it was all peaceful. Remember, we love you, go home. He's talked about pardons, even suggested that those who have been incarcerated are hostages. And last but not least, a completely different definition, that the folks that have been arrested for committing crimes may have been MAGA, may have been Republicans, but they were idiots that acted at their own discretion doing dumb things. So I'm asking, why are there so many different definitions for what took place on January 6th coming from the right? Antifa, FBI, Black Lives Matter, irresponsible Republicans, or peaceful protesters? Why are there so many different definitions? That's what we're going to discuss today. You already know the program is forever will remain MAGA friendly in its entirety. We never block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. When you come in the box, or whether you're in the comment section, if you disagree with the host or if you disagree with anybody else, nobody gives a damn. It's all about free speech here. It always has been. It always will. Start out by asking that you tap the screen. 600 plus of you in here. Get your boy up to about 5,000 likes. I'm going to go straight to the box before even taking a comment, even though I see in the comments John says MASA. Is that a new acronym for MAGA? M-A-G-A? M-A-S-A. I'm listening, Massa. Going to the box. Appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen. We'll go straight to Chip Barnes. Good afternoon, Chip. Welcome to the program. I guess first thing I would say, if the box allows this gentleman to come up, because the box has been flaky all damn week, and apparently it's going to be flaky on Mr. Barnes. We'll give it a moment to see if it comes up. Otherwise, we'll keep it moving. Massa means make America safe again. Lock Trump up, says John. Yikes. Do you think that America would be a safer country if, number 45, President Trump was incarcerated? That's strong language. And if so, does the man deserve his day in court? I mean, we're not going to suggest that Trump is guilty until proven innocent, right? He hasn't been found guilty of anything. So you can't lock the guy up without any conviction. Very similar to the argument yours truly made about Hillary Clinton for folks yelling, lock her up. She's entitled to a day in court. You can't lock people up without giving them due process first. All right, we'll keep it moving because apparently my last caller, the box or whatever, did not agree. We seen FSU was in the comments, or better yet, in the box. How is our country better today? That depends on the individual. We can talk about that. FSU, good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Always a pleasure, Tim. How are you, man?
I'm doing good. So we'll ask you the question that I was just asked in the comments. Are you doing better or worse under Biden as opposed to his predecessor, Trump?
I'm doing better, but it's not just about me. I think we have to talk about most of America, and like there's data for every question you ask. It's out there.
Yeah, true.
Like you can track the poverty rate over the past 40 years, 60 years, and the thing holds true is the poverty. We live in capitalistic society. There's gonna always be haves and have-nots.
Right.
There's gonna always be poverty. And the thing I think that the left does is try to compensate for those that are the least among us.
So do you believe under Biden compared to Trump, the poverty rate has went down under Biden?
I think you just look at the numbers. Look at the job rates now. Here's the thing. I think the right actively tries to keep people poor.
You got to elaborate on that. How does the right try to keep folks impoverished? Explain that.
Look at healthcare. They don't want. I mean, that's a component of being healthy and wealthy. Is being that's a component of being wealthy is having good health. Like what I cannot for the life of me, and I have conservative friends, I have liberal friends. I kind of lean. I'm kind of in the middle, and I can't for the life of me think of why we wouldn't want all of America to have access to health care. I really cannot.
Well, I can give you, I'll push back. I'll play devil's advocate. The first argument is we cannot afford to give everyone insurance. Folks would suggest we can't afford it.
I think my retort to that is that's complete BS. Massachusetts is is the healthiest, smartest states, and the Affordable Care Act was modeled after it. I just do not believe that. I think we can devote resources to war, and that's a component of our country too, is to protect our country. And I don't have a problem with that. But I also have a problem if we're not, Tim, you and your family being healthy, I benefit from that personally. Indirectly, but I do.
Explain, because a lot of folks are like, what the hell you talking about? Explain.
Yeah, this country is better if our citizens are healthy. The healthier we are, the most productive we are. We can actively see that in our GDP. Our growth is tied to our health as a country. It's just like schools. It's a part of, so you can say our public education is, people want to break it up and privatize it, but I think it's one of the most successful things. Regardless of whatever state you're in, I think you can send your kid to public school and they can become a doctor or a lawyer. I think 90% of doctors and lawyers are products of public education.
But I do have a pushback though. Unlike most first world countries, America has never had a universal healthcare system where everybody's entitled to healthcare, yet we are probably one of the best countries among all the first world countries.
Say there was a time in this country where every citizen wasn't eligible to vote. I mean,
right?
Villains.
Yeah.
So, there's going to always be a first, but that doesn't mean our women and our minorities should be eligible to vote. Listen, guys, what I'm saying, if you're in 2024 and you're disputing whether or not your neighbors should and can have health care, I mean, that's insane to me. It's just insane to me. They can say, hey, everybody needs to wear a seatbelt. Everybody needs to have car insurance. But you think our health isn't important?
All right, so it's pretty clear from your answer. I think you elaborated it pretty well, but it's pretty clear that you believe that you, not only yourself, but America is doing better off under Biden than Trump.
I mean, the jobs numbers just came out. You look at the jobs numbers, people are employed. Do we, I think the liberals, I think we need to address wage inequality in America. I think if you look over the past 40 years, all non-CEOs or have their wages have tracked, the prices of houses have increased, and the minimum wage hasn't tracked. I think that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
I think it's a component of crime.
But I will interrupt you and tell you this though. Under President Biden, more and more states are increasing that minimum wage significantly.
As they should.
Yeah.
And what I will say, one thing I've got two more points I want to make, and I won't monopolize your show. Guys, the wages in our country, corporate welfare, I guess I'm trying to be concise in what I'm saying.
Okay.
Corporate welfare is as big a problem as the right that sees a single mother on food stamps. It's a bigger problem. Walmart employs like a lot of people, like most of the people that are on welfare, they're employees. But they've actively tried to keep their wages down, and that's a huge problem it's across all of it increases in crime. It's just a plight on our society, so that's a huge deal. And then the last thing I want to end on, and I know we're not here, there has been a huge negative component viewed about immigration in our country. And I think we're gonna look back in 20 years and we're gonna view it like marijuana. I don't partake in it, but I think us being able to tax it is just like our immigrants.
How are you going to tax immigration? If you come legally, you already pay a fortune.
I think you'll agree. The lion's share of immigrants that come to this country, they don't come to commit crime. They come to work and pay taxes, and they're going to drive the GDP. They have, and they'll continue to do it. And you trying to cut off the border and lock the border, it's just going to be a issue. It's one of those things where it looks like it's the right thing to do, but in 10 years and 15 years and 20 years, it's going to be a negative. I do have some pushback, but I got to move it on. I will tackle this on the other side. But yeah, FSU, always a pleasure. Appreciate you coming in here, man. All right.
Hey, anytime. Now, in regards to what my last caller was suggesting about maybe 20 years from now, we will view the immigration issue differently. I would say there are yes and no. While I totally agree that the average immigrant is not coming into the country to commit felonies, even though it may be one entering the country illegally to begin with. But outside of that, most of them are trying to better themselves and their families financially. However, there is a downside. I don't want to portray a picture as if you can let millions of people come in the country and it'll just make the country better and all these jobs will get done. Well, make no mistake about it. There is a supply and demand issue. If you have a short supply of employees, employers have to do more to get you to come work. If you oversaturate the market with employees, employers will pay less. Point I'm making is when you're letting folks in, they are going to compete with Americans in some jobs. They're not all going to pick fruit. They're not all going to be roofers or do stereotypical jobs we would associate with immigrants. They're going to have children. Those children are going to come up through the public school system. And as my last caller said, at that point, they could become a doctor or anything else. You will compete with them for labor. And currently, they are willing to work significantly cheaper than most Americans, which is why you hear the conversation about they'll do jobs no Americans want, because they'll live 10 to a house, whereas you or I might have been brought up to think that once you became an adult, you should have your own apartment or a home by yourself. They don't mind living a bunch of folks to a house to make ends meet. You can work for $3 or $4 an hour. If it's 10 of you living in that house, you can still make the bills. Americans don't want to live like that. But employers would certainly rather pay $3 an hour than what the labor laws require. Looking in the comments, Sammy Allen says they come with money. I don't think most immigrants coming into America come with money. In fact, most of them pay a coyote to bring them here And the Coyotes charge damn near a year or two worth of wages for over. I don't think they're mostly coming with money on them. I don't believe that. Looking at it, if they're coming with money, then yeah, those are the criminals. Those are probably the ones that are participating in smuggling. What do you call it when you're trafficking underage folks, or even a drug game? But most of them are not coming with that. Real quick. I'll go right back to the box, but I do want to ask that you tap the screen, get your boy up to 20,000. We still got over 600 of you in here. Looking in the comments on YouTube, we do run a simulcast on YouTube. Someone says, "Are you serious, sir?" As serious as a heart attack. However, if you think I'm full of it, feel free to state it. Elaborate your point, and we'll go from there. Hello, Tim. He knows the facts. 18 million people have arrived this year. Wow, have we had we only have 330 million citizens, 330 to 350 million citizens. Have 18 million folks came in this country this year? Is it really that high? Wow. Going back to the box, remember there's a second topic on this. In addition to how are you living under the Biden administration, gas, groceries, your salary, inflation rates. How are you living under the Biden administration? We asked a second question, which is, why are there so many different opinions among Republicans for what happened on January 6th? Not talking about Democrats in this at all. We're talking strictly about Republicans and my beloved MAGA. Definitions include 34% of Republicans believe that the FBI is responsible for what happened on January 6th. Some believe it was Antifa. Others, including President Trump, states that it was a peaceful protest. Trump has suggested pardons and that those who have been incarcerated are actual hostages. Totally different from Antifa or the FBI. Others believe that they were indeed Republicans, devoted supporters of Trump, that were just simply irresponsible idiots that acted on their own behalf, and nobody can control what a grown adult does. And last but not least, Ray Epps. Others suggest Ray Epps is responsible for it. How can we have so many different definitions of what happened that day amongst Republicans? None of this is coming from liberals. This is all Republicans. How can we have so many different definitions of what took place? Going to the box, if the box even lets me do it, we'll start right off with Zach's Ray of Hope. That is a unique name. Okay, Zach, welcome to the program. They want distemper loyalists to be distracted. That will certainly cause a distraction. Zach, good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much. Your previous person that was on here was talking about living and things of that nature, just like you were talking about.
Sure.
I personally live on Social Security disability.
Okay.
And my income is less than $1,000 a month. Whenever you sit and allow prices to go at the rate that they have gone in the past few years, that is ridiculous.
Have they?
Let me back on their butts.
Let me ask you this. I'll let you continue. But let me ask this: because you're on a fixed income, your income has not moved at all in the last 7 years now. For 4 years of Trump, 3 years of Biden, you didn't get any extra income at all from the government.
A little over 3% on average.
Okay.
Supposedly a cost of living. Okay, right. You stop and figure. You look at the average prices in your grocery store. They have gone up more than 3%.
That is true.
Way more than 3%. And they expect us that are on disability and low income as adults on retirement to be able to just live off of a 3% increase in our pay, when grocery prices have gone up anywhere from 10 to 30%. Come on, let's get real, folks.
But I mean, and I don't disagree with you at all. In fact, I would suggest that what you're talking about, that pain you're feeling, even folks who have, a regular W-2 job, a lot of them aren't getting raises from their employers to match inflation either. But what I want to ask you is this. Do you think if President Trump was in office, he could bring the price of groceries down? Do you think the rise in grocery prices is a direct responsibility of Biden being in the White House?
Yes, I do, because the fact of the oil and gas situation. We had the pipeline that they were working on that was actually keeping gas prices lower, and then being shut down. So you have to stop and realize, too, my son has his own logistics company and a trucking company, both.
Okay.
The diesel prices are killing our truck drivers.
Well, wait a minute though. As a truck driver, now I agree with you.
Wait a minute. I want to back up here. Oh, Bubba, you just came off the wrong way, Mr. Corey. Sitting here telling me to get a job. I have a form of muscular dystrophy. I am physically unable to hold a full-time job, but yet, I have a mini farm that is killing me to even work on.
Okay, let me interrupt you. Okay, I don't want you going too deep into attacking or responding to folks in the comments because everybody didn't see the comment. Let's keep it between you and me. If you want to make a short statement on somebody in the comments, I get it, but we don't want to get too far into detail. But in regards to you stating that your I think you said your son's business in driving trucks and the price of diesel. There is no denying that the fuel prices under Biden skyrocketed earlier in his term. But you would admit that right now, as we speak, fuel prices are significantly cheaper than they were a year or two ago, right?
Yes, they have come down quite a little bit.
So then I have to ask you. Yeah. So then I have to ask you if we're blaming the rise in fuel price or the rise in food that you mentioned, groceries and things like that, if we're putting that on Biden because you mentioned the pipeline and him raising the price of fuel, now that fuel has went down, do you see your grocery prices going down to match it?
I have noticed grocery prices going down a small percentage, but not like that they were before the increase in fuel.
So, so why aren't they going down to match the decrease in fuel prices?
The love of money.
Is that Biden's fault?
Yes. Well, part of it is because of the fact that they are allowing industry to get away with overinflating things in a manner which is unrealistic for our society. When you are taking people, okay, let's go for this example, if I may.
Sure.
Like I said, I make less than $1,000 a month. Okay, if something were to happen to my wife, now that's just my income, but that doesn't count my wife's.
Okay.
Okay, if something happens to my wife, and say we get a divorce or whatever, I go from being able to have food on my table to being put into a Section 8 housing where, and I've checked the numbers out on this, where it would cost me about $300 to $400 per month. Okay, less than $1,000, that brings me down, it's 900 and something, brings me down to 600. Then you start figuring your utility expenses. That's going to bring it down another $150. Then you figure all your other
hold on a second.
expenses.
Okay, I don't want, like I said, I'm listening to your case, but what I want to ask you though is if you're saying that Biden is responsible for the fact fuel prices have not went down and he's let folks keep the inflation up, are you suggesting that Biden should impose government regulation on businesses to control their pricing?
What I'm suggesting is that when you have companies that are showing the amount of profit,
You sounding real liberal. You're sounding real liberal. Keep going.
I am basically an independent. I believe in our free market system, but let's take your pharmaceutical company, for example. Whenever they're making a profit margin of over 600% on one drug alone, that is a life-saving product, whose fault is it then?
Well, you and I are totally in agreement that there are some corporations that are greedy. But let me ask you this. Who did you vote for in 2020, the last election? Who did you vote for?
I actually voted independent.
Give me the person. What person?
Man, since that time period, I honestly couldn't answer you because we lost our youngest son 12/16 of 21.
Oh, sorry to hear that. So you didn't vote for Trump or Biden?
No, sir, I did not.
Hillary or Trump? Who did you vote for in 2016?
Trump.
Okay. But you didn't, after 4 years of Trump, you didn't think he deserved for you to vote for him again?
I didn't particularly care for his mouth, number one. If he had learned how to control his mouth and had acted more in a presidential manner than what I saw for myself, I would have voted for him in a heartbeat.
And I think a lot of folks agree with you. I got to move it on, but one other question I would ask you: do you think he has learned to control his mouth now that he's running again?
I think he's learned a little bit from it. I think he still has a little bit more to learn, but I'm not seeing the name calling as much. But of course, I'm not on.
There you go. All right. Well,
as much.
You do understand? A week and a half ago, he's now nicknamed presidential candidate Nikki Haley. He calls her a bird brain. That is what he calls her now, bird brain.
Oh Lord, here we go again.
All right, I got to move it on, though, Zach.
All I gotta say is, come on, Trump, please control your mouth. Get some duct tape, man.
Good luck with that, Zach. I appreciate you coming on. Come on back through anytime. My door's always open.
Thank you, sir. You have a great day.
You too. All right, looking in the comments, and by the way, I get callers like that all the time that actually favorite Trump, favorite his economy, favorite his job numbers, favorite his policies, but do believe he could not stop running his mouth or the tweets. The fuck your feelings crowd doesn't resonate with everybody that supported Trump. That's an individual that voted for Trump the first time and did not vote for him the second time, which is why I asked him, you had 4 years of Trump. Why wouldn't you support him a second time? You heard his answer. All right, looking in the comments, so you wanted Trump to be like all the other politicians, says King. Well, you don't, if your only complaint with Trump is that he doesn't go around, launching all these horrible insults at people, and the response to, so you want him to be like all the other politicians, huh? You want him to be dignified and civilized like everybody else. Shame on you. Listen, the only way I can run a program like this, where I enjoy talking to you folks on both sides of the aisle, is to treat everybody with respect. I don't see how you could ever lead a country not doing that. I don't see how you could ever have 300 plus million people under your control when you're treating a large portion of them like shit. Even if they're treating you that way. You know how many folks I get in the comments, in my direct messages, calling me all sorts of names, and liberals think I'm an Uncle Tom for being willing to discuss topics with MAGA, and a lot of MAGA thinks I'm a libtard for some of the policies I suggest. I don't know how you can do it if you don't treat people with respect. I don't see it. Maybe I'm blind. Going back to the box, and by the way, folks, tap the screen. Get your boy up to 25,000. You know what I'm going to ask. Let your thumbs not be lazy. Happy Friday. We try to deliver decent content to you. Real quick, looking in the comments on YouTube. Tim, I thought I heard you say it didn't matter what I write, nobody is going to read it anyway. Okay, well, you got me to read that. I run a simulcast on YouTube, so that was a YouTube comment. Keep the South great, Trump 2024. Well, if the South is great, do you really need Trump? Going back to the box, keeping the South great. Maybe the South will rise again, in your opinion, huh? American Outlaw, welcome to the program. Asking those two questions. How are you faring under Biden? And why are there so many different definitions for what took place on January 6th, according to Republicans and MAGA alike? I got at least 7 definitions that Republicans use to describe what took place on January 6th. And they are completely varied, from hostages to criminals. Why are there so many different definitions? Can somebody explain that to me? Looking in the comments, I don't know, the box is acting up again. I do apologize. We'll keep it going. January 6th was a coup organized by Trump. Says, I can't pronounce the name, but that certainly is not a Republican definition. Well, actually it is. Actually, Liz Cheney, Mitt Romney, some of them do say that too. But I didn't even add that to the list of definitions that the Republican state was what happened on January 6th. I didn't even call it a coup. I gave you all the other definitions. Make that 8. Why are there so many different definitions? Looking in the comments, lying media covering the lying Democrats. These are not, none of these definitions are coming from the lying media. You tell me what media says 34% of Republicans believe the FBI was responsible for January 6th. You telling me that's what MSNBC is saying and Fox News disagrees? You're telling me if you watch OAN or Newsmax, they would tell you that believing the FBI was responsible for January 6th is a lie? Antifa. There's another. You're telling me that nobody on it, you tell me that's a liberal media thing? That they're blaming Antifa? Trump said it was a peaceful protest. And that some of the folks that are incarcerated are hostages. That's a liberal media definition? Really? Trump said some of those folks should be pardoned. All made up by the liberal media. I get it. Some would say that it was just idiots acting irresponsible. Trump had nothing to do with it. That's a liberal media definition. Ray Epps, made up by the liberals, huh? All right, looking in the box. We'll keep it moving. I don't know what happened with my last caller, but let's try it again one more time, as George Michael once sang. Big country.
Hey, what's going on, Tim? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. I'm sure you've been listening in. I'll give you the floor.
Going with the whole economy under Biden and Trump, for me it's a little different. My income has actually increased only because I moved from one job to another. I used to be a detention officer with the Sheriff's Department in El Paso, and then I moved into the transportation sector. I'm a truck driver now, so I'm actually making a little bit more money than where I was. But then I've also moved into an owner-operator position, and so I am taking a little bit more of a hit on the fuel costs.
Okay.
So,
but as a truck driver, I'm sure you've noticed fuel prices have went down significantly since this time last year. I mean, has that affected you at all?
Yes, and I am grateful that the gas prices are starting to come down, but there's no need for the gas prices to go up as high as they did when Biden first got into office. It was like his first couple of weeks within office, gas prices are already shooting up 30, 40, 50 cents at a shop.
Do you blame the increase of fuel prices on Biden?
Yes.
What did he do?
Well, obviously, day one, he shut down the Keystone Pipeline. That was one thing that helped shoot gas prices up. And then also, he started to try and appease all the Green New Deal and try and move to all these renewable energy sources, which there's nothing wrong with that, but there's, especially in the industry that I'm in, there's no way I haven't seen anything that an electric truck can have the power and the distance capabilities that you have with a diesel truck.
Let me interrupt by saying this. I don't disagree with you that alternative energy is not at the point of fossil fuels. Like you said, something that needs to carry a lot of freight, a lot of weight for a long distance. Electric vehicles are not there yet. However, the overwhelming majority of vehicles on the road don't need to fit those parameters. It's folks like me that drive 80, 90 miles a day, which an electric vehicle would easily cover. You could have electric vehicles and just keep semis and vehicles that need a lot of power. You could let them remain fossil fuel oriented.
That I would have no problem with.
Okay.
The other aspect I see with that is me growing up, our family liked to take road trips.
Okay.
Vacations. And so, again, that kind of plays into the same situation. If you live in a city area and you're driving 5-10 miles to work every day, yeah, an electric car wouldn't be too bad. But when you're trying to go 600-700 miles on a road trip just for a vacation, you gotta stop halfway through the trip just to recharge your vehicle.
Yeah, but I will go back to what I originally stated. First of all, very few, when you're talking about taking 600-mile road trips, most families don't do that more than once or twice a year, if at all. And you could, just like before we had fossil fuel vehicles, people still traveled horse and buggy or whatever. You would have to plan your trip. I mean, if you want to go 600 miles, for instance, that means you need to probably stop and recharge your vehicle at least once, because you're going to get about 300 to 400 miles out of a full charge. If you stop once or if you stop twice and chill somewhere and have lunch, because if you're traveling 600 miles, you're certainly going to stop to eat a few times. You stop off and wait 2 or 3 hours, and then you could probably finish the rest of that journey. I mean, I don't think it's a huge hindrance, considering you don't have to stop but a few hours, and you're only doing this once or twice a year.
Well, and one of the other things that I've noticed, a lot of businesses are going out of business because they're trying to put in these charging stations, but they're having the businesses put them on their grids, and it's costing that business in their parking lot to pay for the electricity to charge these vehicles.
That can't be true. You're telling me if I have a business, they're going to force me to pay the electric bill for anybody that wants to stop in and charge their car? That's what you're telling me?
A lot of these places that are allowing their parking lots to put in charging stations, their charging station that is being into that business's electrical grid. So now that business has to pay the extra charge for the electricity to charge these vehicles. And that extra charge, even just to have the stations, is so much higher because it takes so much more energy to charge the vehicle.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
There have been some businesses that have.
Yeah, I don't disagree that it would cost a business. I don't disagree that it would cost a business a lot of money to charge up people's cars. I gotta say, unless I see a mountain of evidence, I gotta totally disagree that even far left cities, that any municipality would force a business owner to pay the cost to charge up random people's cars. I would have to see a mountain of evidence to believe that.
Well, the other thing is, you look at the company that is making the charging stations.
Okay.
It's not the counties or anything like that. They're actual companies like Tesla. That company is the ones that are building the charging stations, and so they're selling them to the companies to use them in their parking lots. So it's not on the counties and the municipalities. It's a company-to-company transaction.
I can't imagine any business engaging in what you're talking about at a cost to themselves that would not have a decent case in court to either get that charging station removed or have that company make them whole. I can't imagine that that's happening the way you're saying it. There's got to be a lot more to that story.
gross amount of these charging stations. They're at bigger malls.
Yeah,
Bigger,
I've used one. I've used them before.
But you don't see a lot of these charging stations at your mom and pop stores or your like one business stores.
Yeah.
Because of that fact. It costs the business a whole lot more.
Yeah. I don't listen. I don't.
That's just what I see.
Yeah, I don't totally agree with the way you said it, but I will say this. Alternative energies, particularly electric vehicles, just like cell phones, the DVD player when it first came out, the VCR, you gotta give the technology a chance to grow. The example I give is when Obama started subsidizing solar panels, many of the complaints they're voicing against Biden with electric cars, they also voiced against Obama, suggesting that solar panels were bad for the environment. Many of you remember the Solyndra scandal. And now everybody is using solar panels, particularly in mobile environments, folks who live in vehicles. Solar panels are everywhere. But you gotta give the technology a chance to grow. There's too many folks in support of big energy that are pointing out all the negatives, making it hard for this stuff to take off. Remember, windmills cause cancer. They're taking out birds. All of the discussion in regards to alternative energy coming from the right, it's all negative.
Well, and one of the other things that I look at, what do we have in our world, in our society, that is the best filter for carbon dioxide?
I'm not a scientist. I can't speak on that. Yeah, I don't know that.
Because trees, they like the trees in our world, they live off of the carbon dioxide. They change that carbon dioxide and they reproduce oxygen out to us. And I don't know the exact numbers, but everyone wants to try and say that we're so polluted, but the amount of trees that we have in the country is still able to filter out more than the amount of carbon dioxide and
let me respond. I'll respond to that by saying this. You are correct. Trees use carbon dioxide the same way we use oxygen. The problem is anywhere there's a bunch of cars, like a big city, there's not a lot of trees. The trees are out in areas where people don't have a lot of cars. You go to Los Angeles, where there's smog floating over the city, there's not a lot of trees in Los Angeles. So the problem is, I agree, maybe that may help, but there's not a lot of trees in the big city. It's mostly all cement.
This is true. I will agree with you on that.
Yeah. All right, I do got to move it on. You know how we do. Appreciate you coming in, Big Country. Thank you.
Not a problem, anytime.
Absolutely. Looking in the comment section, thanks, Tim, educate this guy. Well, I didn't even think about it till he brought up carbon dioxide, and I'm picturing areas where you had these big ass clouds of pollution floating over. Any of you folks that have been to Los Angeles, I've been there numerous times. You get up on a hill somewhere and you look down and you see that cloud. You don't see a lot of trees. I mean, there's palm trees in Los Angeles. Those aren't taking up much carbon dioxide. So I suppose if you had a huge city in the upper peninsula of Michigan somewhere, or out in the middle of northern Minnesota where there are tons of trees, maybe it would work. But not in Los Angeles or Vegas somewhere. There's not enough trees. Looking in the comments, palm trees were imported in the 1920s. Fun fact. You're telling me there were no palm trees in America before the 1920s, or are you talking about strictly in the Los Angeles area? That's interesting. I've never heard that. Coming off 8 before going on 40s. I don't get that. I thought you were mentioning some rims, but ain't nobody driving around with 8s, and 40s are too big. Going back to the box, appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen. Get your boy likes up to 40,000. 2 questions we're asking. How are you living under the Biden economy? gas prices, price of groceries, inflation rates, salaries at your particular place of employment. We've had somebody on with a fixed income. How are you living under the Biden economy? Is Bidenomics, which they don't use anymore, by the way, Bidenomics isn't working for you? And then the second question, which no one really has decided to tackle, but I'll keep it out there. Why are there so many different definitions for what took place on January 6th among Republicans? We're not factoring in any liberal descriptions of January 6th at all. We're talking strictly from Republicans. Why do they describe what happened that day so many different ways where they don't all agree with each other? There are multiple, I just ran them down, 7 different descriptions of what took place there that day. From peaceful protests to agitators to Black Lives Matter to Antifa to Ray Epps. Why are they describing it so vastly different? And of course, Trump thinks that it was a peaceful protest. We love you, go home, you should be pardoned. You guys are hostages in federal custody. Everyone with a different definition. Why is that? We'll go to the one and only Electric Book 45. Appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen. Should be around 40,000 likes. You got 600 plus of you in here. Wolf, good afternoon. Happy Friday to you.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. You'd be the perfect guy to tell me why there are so many folks with different definitions of what took place on January 6th.
Well, okay. On the left...
We're not talking about the left. We're talking strictly about the right.
I thought you wanted all sides because I thought the left was Armageddon, World War III.
We can discuss the left, but right now I'm talking about strictly among Republicans. There are so many different definitions.
Well, strictly on Republican side, on my side, my thinking is that the reason there's so many different versions is because, well, you know, everybody's got their crazies. And there's people that think, well, it was an inside job. It was nothing but Antifa, nothing but the feds, and nothing but BLM. That's the way some of them look at it. Then you have some of them that are like, yeah, it was just a protest. It got out of hand. And the people who got in trouble. We just think they're being overly charged.
Okay.
That's the way some people feel.
Well, Trump said it was a peaceful protest. He didn't say nothing about anybody got out of hand. Said it was a peaceful protest. We love you, go home.
Well, yeah, that's the way he felt. I mean, that's what the whole thing was. He told them, hey, go march, things like that. Protest peacefully. He told them everything he wanted, what he was in for. Hey, thanks for coming. Let's protest. Everybody has a right to protest. Of course, no one has a right to break windows and stuff like that. Of course, that's vandalism. That's.
But he didn't say anybody got out of hand like you just did.
Well, I think now he has.
I haven't heard him say anything.
It was an insurrection because it wasn't.
I haven't heard Trump say anything negative about a single protester there that day.
Well, the reason I think you haven't heard it is because it's it's going to be rare that you've heard him say it, and he's still sticking to the fact that it was a stolen election, and we're going to move on from that, God willing.
Okay.
But the other part of the Republicans and stuff like that, I think it's a little of both. They feel, yes, the election was stolen. Yes, there were parts that were crazy MAGA people. And yes, there was FBI, CIA, Antifa, and other agitators dressed as Trump supporters. So it was a mixture of everybody. And it ran everybody crazy. But now, how many people were at the protest? About maybe 100,000?
I heard somebody tell me 1 million on this broadcast.
Okay, well, that's even better for my point. If it's 1 million people, a very, very small percentage went crazy. If it was 100,000 people, let's say 1,000 people went crazy. That's still a small percentage. Now, the thing of it, it was mostly peaceful. I mean, you didn't see fires like Velshi was talking about, mostly peaceful, and there's a building burning behind him. But that's all it was. They tried to make it into a big insurrection thing, which it wasn't. Let's just bottom line it. It's not. It's a talking point. I understand that. But, I mean, it wasn't. It wasn't.
When you say they tried to make it like it was a big insurrection thing, who is they? Define they. Who are they?
The left and some
Republicans in office.
So, I mean, can you name some of the Republicans in office that think it was peaceful? Because I've seen most of them, including McCarthy and Vice President Pence, running out the building. What folks on the right don't think it was some type of outrageous act?
Well, no, I mean, it was outrageous because it's shame on them for acting like that and doing that. I mean, but, like, again, it wasn't all of them. It wasn't all Trump supporters. It wasn't all Republicans. It wasn't all conservatives. I mean, it wasn't. I mean, it was a small group of people that caused trouble. It happens.
Yeah.
It happens on both sides.
So when you say it was peaceful, you're saying most of the people. I don't hear that from Trump. He doesn't say most.
Well, because the thing is because they're trying to get him on that he started this, and he didn't. He had nothing to do with it. He never said smear poop on the wall. He never said break windows. He never said let's kill everybody or let's unalive people. He never said any of that.
Why were they there?
Well, to support him in protest. But again, we go back to some of them didn't do a good job. And they misbehaved, and it wasn't.
Well, but when you say most of the folks there were peaceful, I'm assuming you're talking about the people that's on the lawn in front of him and Giuliani and Bennett when they're giving a speech. They didn't went to the Capitol building, huh?
The people that were outside too of the Capitol. They weren't. I mean, come on, 100,000 people would have just overrun the government.
Well, Wolf, I don't think there were many more people that could fit in the building. I mean, I think that's the reason they were outside. A lot of them couldn't fit in the building.
Brother, they could have filled that whole. I mean, okay, they could have filled it if they were all marching on Washington to take over this and just unalive and just do all sorts of damage. They would have been in the building. There would have been nobody left outside. They would have all been inside that building, cramped up and causing all sorts of damage. It didn't happen. It was.
So let me ask you too, because you're saying peaceful, and a lot of folks agree with you. But let me ask you this: if let's say Nancy Pelosi was somebody related to you, I don't want to say your mom, but your sister or cousin, if you were watching that on TV, do you see what was going on? Would you have felt like she was safe there that day?
You know, I'm going to be very honest with you. Yes. I mean, come on. These guys, the problem is because they have a lot of protection. There's a lot of protection for these people. They can't act like, oh my God, they were upon us. No,
well, wait a minute, but if you need protection, you're not safe.
Well, no, they get protection because they're elected officials. That's why. That's why you have the Capitol Police. That's why you have. See, the problem is this is just, I don't know how to say so you don't get in trouble and stuff like that. But let's just story time. This is a problem when elected officials don't mind other people going to other people's neighborhoods, causing all sorts of damage, all sorts of trauma, all sorts of unaliving, all sorts of fire, everything else. But it comes to their doorstep because of their policies and their hypocrisy, and someone comes to them not close enough, but they think it's close enough to punch them in the face. Then they're like, oh no, it's horrible. It's an insurrection. It's Armageddon. The people are going crazy. Why? Because it actually is coming to them, to their policies, to the things they've done.
Yeah, and I'm going to say right off the bat, I think a lot of folks would agree with you that the reason they wanted to get their hands on her or they wanted to see her was because of her policies. But let me ask you,
and I'm not saying they wanted to hurt her.
But let me ask you that though. Let me ask you that question directly, because obviously folks were walking through the halls of the Capitol building yelling Nancy, Nancy. If that group had have come face to face with Nancy, what do you think would have happened?
Honestly, I don't think, it's a hypothetical and I understand your question. I just don't think it would have happened because there you would have seen a lot of drawing weapons and taking.
Why? Why would you have to draw weapons?
Well, because, I mean, you got to make sure she's protected. Regardless if they were going to do anything to her or not, you don't know. It's like someone breaking into your house. You're like, oh, well, they're only here to steal my TV, not hurt me. No. You're too close to my proximity.
So, in other words, when you see folks like Ashley Babbitt losing her life, you're basically saying that should have happened because you're too close to proximity.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. But it should have happened if Ashley Babbitt was standing in front of Nancy Pelosi with a raised weapon, whether it be a stick, a rock, a shard of glass, another weapon, something. I just don't. I think the guy overdid it by unaliving her. I don't think that was right.
So with her having no weapon, what should he have done? He's sitting there with a gun aimed out, saying, "Stay back."
They should have subdued her. They should have subdued her. They should have done their job.
He is. Wait a minute, Wolf. Wait, Wolf. He is one guy with 3 other staffers cowering behind him, and you're telling me he should go in the middle of that crowd and subdue this one woman?
Okay, I'm gonna ask you, Handsome. The staffers that were there with the cop, were they men or women?
I think they were both. The ones that were behind him?
Oh, yeah, the ones, you know how they were like cowering behind him?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Now, this is where my misogyny is gonna pour out of me. Now, she was crawling through a very small window that no one else was gonna be able to get through at the time.
Okay.
So, again, 2020 hindsight, all that. I would have yanked her in, subdued her, handcuffed her with the help of the cowering men that were there. Because of the fact that those cowering men should not have been cowering. They should have been there standing up with this cop. And this cop wouldn't have felt so afraid to take someone's life that was not armed.
So how do you feel, okay, painting the picture you're painting, let's say the cop did what was going to do what you suggest. They got a barricade up, and if you see in the video, obviously there's a hole in the barricade that Ashley Babbitt was going to climb through. But if you look at the video, you will notice there's all sorts of furniture, chairs, and things they put up against the barricade to make it clear they're trying to keep these folks away from him. She's going to climb over all of that to get to him. How do you feel about the fact that she is looking down the barrel of a gun with a guy saying stay back, and she's proceeding towards him anyway?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, again, I understand because he's in fear of his life because there were cowering men behind him, and no one took it upon themselves to say, hey, let's take whoever comes in one by one. I mean, come on, it's zombie apocalypse 101, Handsome.
And you said zombie apocalypse. Do you realize how many folks that have went out and literally bought AR-15s to deal with the zombie apocalypse?
Well, yeah, but okay, let me ask you this. When Ashley Babbitt was shot, did they continue to try to push forward?
No, because they realized he was serious.
Exactly. See, and that's the thing. If they would have subdued her, and this guy would have just taken a shot in the air, whatever, and just start firing 2-3 shots in the air, they would have been like,
Wait, Wolf. What officer, what law enforcement official have you ever heard that is trained to fire a weapon in the air? This isn't the Taliban wedding.
To kill unarmed people either, right?
No, we don't know. Nobody in that crowd has been searched. You don't know if Ashley Babbitt is not carrying a knife or a gun. You don't know.
Exactly, but you're going to have to wait until a threat presents itself. Her crawling through a window is not a threat because of the fact if someone's crawling through a police station window, they're not going to shoot them. They're going to subdue them.
You really
wait for them to attack them.
Okay, I think you're over giving her the benefit of the doubt. All right, fair enough. You and I disagree. We always do. I do got to move it on, though, Wolf. It's always a pleasure talking to you.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
I want to wish you a happy 2024. I think you're one of the best people here on TikTok. There's a lot of craziness going around, and I think you need to win some sort of award. And on top of that, I want you to vote for Trump 2024.
Good luck with that. All right. Listen, I don't need to. I'll take the award. I'll take a few hats and mustaches, galaxies, all that bullshit. Appreciate you coming through, Wolf. Come on back anytime. All right. Looking in the comment section. Do that. What does that say? Do that same thing when someone is crawling through your house window then. Yeah, listen, I allow folks to speak. You know how we do it here. It's a free speech program. Wow. Thank you. Who sent that? Is that Goldie? That's Goldie. Is that what I thought I saw? Okay, appreciate that if I'm thinking right. I do see it says Goldie since our. Thank you, Goldie, if I'm correct. H2O. H2O got me off the coast of Australia with the jellyfish. Thank you. Now, and Tammy, love that. And so, now, I always allow the folks to speak. Understand, I don't censor, block, or ban anyone. Me and the last guest obviously disagrees on virtually everything about January 6th, but I enjoy talking to Wolf all the time. He's certainly MAGA. He's certainly welcome on the program. Regardless of your own political affiliation, you're going to be welcome on the program as well. So, going back to the box, we'll keep it moving. I seen Jerry there. Appreciate you folks. Tap the screen. Get your boy up to 50,000 on the likes. Love you, brother. What's your background, please?
Hello?
Good after.
You okay?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, here's the thing about January 6th from what the other guy was saying, because he was really getting me kind of in my chest.
Okay.
They kept on telling that lady to give back. She was a trained weapon. She was in the Army, whatever type of service.
She's Air Force. She's an Air Force veteran.
The Air Force, okay. She is a trained weapon.
You know, I'll interrupt. Let me interrupt by saying this. Even though you're correct, she had military training. He didn't know that, and that's what I was pointing out to the last caller. These people have not been searched, just like we talk about the immigrants. None of these folks have been vetted or anything. You don't know what she's capable. She may be G.I. Jane for all you know. You just know she's not listening to commands. She's ignoring the firearm, and she's proceeding towards you as a threat. You don't know what she got on her.
Okay, and let me just say one more thing. Let me just go back.
Sure.
When a police officer is chasing down an unarmed black man, shooting him in the motherfucking back, nobody ain't saying shit about that. But they want to cry about this motherfucking bitch.
All right.
When they told this bitch to get back, they told her to get back. They told these people to get back. They refused to listen. And she got what she deserved. Like they always say, you play stupid games, you win stupid prizes. The bitch won a motherfucking medal of the motherfucking stupid ass day. Because none of the motherfuckers had the right to be up in that motherfucking building that motherfucking day.
Are you related to Samuel? Are you related to Samuel L. Jackson?
No. I know I say that motherfucking word all the time. That's because I've been trying black people all my life.
All right.
I got that in me.
All
But
right.
anyways, you don't see not one white person that is saying anything about what. I mean, you have some white people, but I'm just saying, I'm so mad right now. The Trump supporters, they always say how black people win stupid prizes.
Yeah.
Well, she won that stupid prize because they had told her numerous of times to give back, and that's the Secret Service. They're not the police.
That's a good
They're not
point.
anything.
That's a really good
Secret
point.
Service. And the vice president was in that room. They're going to pop you. If they feel that the vice president's in danger, they are told to take out the threat.
Yeah.
And that is what they did. They took out the threat.
Yeah. You said.
And after they took out the threat, they backed their motherfucking ass down.
All right, Jerry. You said the comments on fire. This is the first time talking.
Yeah, I be listening to people every now and then. I go into their lives, listen and stuff like that. But things that people be saying, it gets me so pissed off to where I just have to scroll on by. But I just couldn't scroll on by on this one.
I'm glad you didn't. Come on, anytime. I'm glad you didn't.
And I'm damn tired of these motherfucking Trump turds thinking January 6th was okay when it wasn't.
All right.
It wasn't okay what they done.
All right, Jerry.
That wasn't nothing peaceful. Trump didn't do nothing to stop that shit. He was kept on engaging that shit. He was the one who got the shit going. I don't give a fuck what these motherfucking Trump turds have to say.
Wow.
He got that shit started.
All right, well, we got to get a man this day in court, but I do got to move it on, Jerry. Your point is passionate. A lot of folks in the comments totally agree with you. Anytime. Free to speak here. Come on back anytime, Jerry.
I most definitely will.
Absolutely a pleasure. I'm tired of these motherfucking protesters in this motherfucking Capitol. Samuel, definitely one of my favorite actors. Wow. I enjoy the passion. As I say, we don't ban, block, or censor anyone, regardless of what side they're coming from. We have my boy Electric Wolf, who is a frequent viewer, caller to the program, followed by Jerry, who is 180 degrees separate. Both welcome on the program anytime. Tap the screen, get your boy up to 60,000. I'm laughing with Arletha Curry on YouTube, so you definitely heard that. Appreciate that. Tap the screen, get your boy up to 60,000. You know how we do. Almost 900 of you in here. Jerry kind of blew up the comment section with that. Looking in the comments real quick. And I see folks even on YouTube or TikTok. Wow. When you love to have that nice liberal as your old lady. Look, I believe folks should be allowed to speak. You know, she had some choice words to say for the Trump administration and MAGA on January 6th. However, on January 6th, that crowd was full of fuck your feelings signs. Folks who would have defended Trump for the same type of language. Are we for free speech or are we not? I've often stated, everyone is for free speech until you say some shit they don't want to hear. And then they backtrack. We don't do that here. We allow everyone to speak, regardless of their opinion, because that's how we think it should be. Maybe you do too. And by the way, if you do enjoy civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle, civilized, I understand that's in quotes, but if you enjoy civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle, without any concern with the host trying to block, ban, censor you, or limit your time, follow the program. You're in the right place. We do this here Monday through Friday. Noon is when we're here. Going back to the box, she should say different, or she would say different if Ashley was black and the cop was white. It would be murder. You know, that's an interesting point. If Ashley Babbitt was an African American trying to climb through a window and a white cop shot her and she was just in front of a ton of other rioting blacks, would black people view it differently? I think there might be some. I don't disagree with that entirely, but I'll tell you what, the opinion of MAGA would be totally the opposite as well. I don't think anybody that refers to themselves as a Trump supporter or Republican, my beloved MAGA, would defend LaQuisha Jenkins trying to climb through the window and being shot by 7. I don't think anyone. So yes, there might be some differences of opinion. However, anybody that's doing what Ashley Babbitt did should proceed at their own risk. And I've said this before I go back to the box. I don't care if it's a person with a badge or a bank robber with a ski mask. If someone is pointing a gun at you and yelling instructions and you decide to ignore them, do so at your own risk. It doesn't have to just be a cop, folks. Anyone aiming a gun at you, yelling for you to do something, and you decide to proceed against their wishes, you're at risk of getting shot. Fuck around and find out. That's what folks in the right say. I wish a motherfucker would. That's what they say in the hood. It's the same shit. You can't ignore what's being pointed at you. Somebody's aiming a gun at you, and you're just gonna proceed anyway and hope that they do things the way you want them to do. Good luck with that. Looking in the box, we'll keep it going with, I don't know what that says there, but we'll just make it happen. I think it says the humble something. Good afternoon. There are some black women named Ashley, just saying. Yeah, true, but you know what I'm talking about. The humble trucker. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you this lovely day?
It's a pleasure having you on. We're asking a couple questions. I don't know if you've been tuned in for any length of time, but I'll just give you the floor based on what you've heard. Do you have anything to say?
Well, I mean, I've got questions.
Sure.
I tuned in about 10 minutes ago. So what's the
Okay.
conversation on today?
Well, first topic we asked, which was not discussed in the last conversation because the caller was pretty passionate, but we asked, the first question is, how are you doing as a trucker, by the way? How are you doing under the Biden administration in comparison to his predecessor, which was Trump? Gas prices, economy, inflation rates, salary, etc. And then the last question that was asked, because you heard the passion in my last caller, was, yeah, why are there so many different definitions coming from Republicans and folks on the right, including MAGA, as to what happened on January 6th? They have a variety of different opinions. We're not talking liberals or the left, we're talking the right. You ask folks what happened on January 6th, it was a peaceful protest. Some rioters got out of hand, Ray Epps, the FBI, Antifa, Black Lives Matter. There's all sorts of different definitions. We're asking, why is that?
Okay, well, I guess let's go to the first set of questions. Or
Bidenomics.
I mean, this last year, 2023, I made more money than I've ever made in my life.
Wow.
And I crossed over six figures for the first time in my life.
Congratulations.
It feels like a great accomplishment. Whether it was under Trump or Biden, I think it's just the job you pick, what you choose to pursue and dedicate your time to. But I will say that it has been a struggle.
Wait a minute. You made the most money you've ever done in your life, and it's been a struggle. Explain. That sounds. Those things don't go together. Explain that.
I know it confuses me.
Yeah, it confuses us all.
It just seems like every week, and some of the hyper liberals may say I'm privileged to have anything over at the end of the week, which maybe I am. There's a lot of people that can't make it. I'll agree with that. That's fine. But, it just seems every week there's not enough to make you feel comfortable for the next week.
Wait, humble trucker, you said you're making six figures. If at that point you don't feel comfortable, let's admit some of that is greed. You're making more than the average American at that point.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so you're not comfortable due to greed.
I don't know if it's greed. I mean, I've got 3 children at home and a wife that stays home.
Okay.
She raises our babies, and I'm so thankful, and I'm very appreciative towards her. We're wanting to homeschool our kids and just have a typical family union.
You're living, but I go back, just to interrupt, I go back to my statement. You got 6 figures, you got a wife that doesn't work, you got 3 children. You're living better than the average American. Most people got a wife that works, and they with 3 kids or more, and they're making significant. They're not making $100,000 combined. Some people got
right, absolutely.
Yeah, so you're above the fray.
And I can, what's the word? I can accept, maybe not accept that, but I can acknowledge that, right? But I think my point of where I'm trying to come at is, if it was hard for me with 6 figures, everybody else, when they say, we've been wiped out, we can't deny that.
Were you more comfortable under the Trump years?
I mean, it was hard then, but that was my first year trucking, so it was very, your first year in anything, you're basically paying to get the experience. You're not getting paid for your experience.
Right.
So my first year trucking was, $700 a week.
So you're saying you're at the 6-figure rate now, but before $700 a week, you're talking less than what is that, around 40,000 or something. You're talking,
yeah.
Even though your income is more than doubled under the Biden administration, you're not. You look back to the Trump administration, you're like, the struggle during then wasn't that much worse than it is now, even though my income is double.
Right. Yeah.
So do you think? So it sounds like Biden. It sounds like, at least from your standpoint, Biden is doing a bad job. I mean, I've gotten double the income, and my life isn't that much better.
I don't know that I would say he's doing a bad job. I mean, personally, outside of, not feeling comfortable or having anxiety financially for the next week, outside of that, none of his choices have they personally affected me. Not a single one of them.
Did you have all 3? Were you a father of 3 during the Trump administration?
A father of one.
Oh, that's a big difference then. That may have something to do with it. You've been busting nuts. I mean, you've been having kids. So,
Right, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So,
But, I mean, you know,
Go
we
ahead.
cloth diaper, we breastfeed, we save everywhere we can not to spend frivolously. You know, we've got a 10-year-old car. We've got one car. You know, I stay out 3 months at a time and go home for a week.
all right. Real quick in the comments, Wisconsin Mama and Ash, you guys didn't hear that, okay? I see what you typed in. You didn't hear that. So let me ask you this then. Do you think Biden deserves a second term?
I don't think, probably not because of his, you know, politics, but the man's just old.
His opponent is only 4 years younger. Do you think he deserves a second term?
He's old too. No, absolutely not. I think, you know, to really represent the people coming up, you know, why are we having 80-year-olds in Congress, in the White House? You know, yeah, they've got the experience, but they don't have the same struggles.
True.
When they were young as us young folk do today.
What about Nikki Haley? She's younger.
I haven't really paid much attention to her. I've just seen her get fucking shit talked by whatever that guy's name is.
Ron DeSantis?
Vivek.
Oh, Vivek. Yeah, she called him stupid. Yeah, Vivek. He's young too. Vivek is young.
They hate each other.
Well, MAGA is not big fans of Nikki Haley, and Vivek is basically running as MAGA light. He's pretty much running as the Trump, the Trump friend in the debate. So he's doing his job. He's supposed to attack her, but he's younger. Right. What's wrong with Vivek?
Yeah, I think I would be a little more comfortable if, Robert would ease up on some of his extreme.
RFK.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where did he go? Did he disappear? I haven't seen him on.
He has. I think he's given up. You know, apparently, I don't know if it's true or not, but Biden doesn't want to give him Secret Service protection. He was crying about that.
Yeah, I haven't seen or heard of, and I watch a lot of media. I haven't seen or heard from him at all. I haven't even seen dude on YouTube. So I mean, he pretty much is. Yeah.
He's just disappeared. I don't know if he's giving it up or trying to play a sideball, race. I don't know.
So let me ask you this: considering that Trump is all over television, Biden is on. I mean, he's not campaigning as strongly, but he is all over television because he's the president. If you got a ballot and it had Trump, Biden, or an RFK on it, who would you vote for?
It's going to go for the third, RFK.
All right, and you do know that's a wasted vote, right? If he's not on TV, people don't know about him.
Right, yeah. And I think that's, that really doesn't upset me, but, it bothers me that it's just this two-party system. Let's get some more ideas in it.
Yeah. All right, fair enough. Next time you see an illegal immigrant, hand him your ballot, man. I got to move it on.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Absolutely. Enjoy your weekend. All right, looking in the box, writing in John Stewart. That's another wasted vote. Where were all the counter protesters? That would have been an interesting collision. No, it would not. On January 6th, a bunch of counter-protesters, maybe consisting of some African-Americans, some Hispanics, some Muslims, maybe in Muslim garb, maybe some members of the LGBT community with rainbows on in Washington on January 6th? No. No. You ever put goldfish in a tank full of Oscars or piranhas? I don't think that would have been a good idea. I just don't. Looking in the comments, Trump will be taking care of business. What type of business? What type of business? I don't want to vote for Trump, but I'm definitely not voting for Biden, says federal court. Well, RFK it is, right? I mean, what about RFK? What, bro? You got some issues. Trump is a scumbag, and I'm no Biden fan, says Philly. And there's a lot of people in that category. Look, we could talk about what happened on January 6th and things like that. But here's the issue I have. If Trump is as bad as folks suggest, why isn't Biden doing better? Because I see somebody in the comment, what Philly just said. You got some issues. Trump's a scumbag, but I'm no Biden fan. Why doesn't Biden have more fans? Now, regardless of what you think about the economy, there's no denying it right now as we speak in January of 2023. It's better than it was in January 2022. It's better than it was in January of well, maybe that's when Biden got sworn in. The point I'm making is the economy's seen a major hit under Biden, but it is starting to bend towards a favorable standpoint for us all. Why is he hated so bad? Based on economics, I can understand what my last caller was talking about in regards to age. A lot of people have an issue with that, but economically, the way are we really still paying $6 a gallon for gas in most cities? Are there no differences at all? Is it still as bad as it was a year or two ago? I don't see why his numbers are that horrendous among liberals. MAGA, I get it. There's no way in hell you'd want to support Biden. That makes sense. But for among Democrats, among never Trumpers, his numbers are not that great. And I'm trying to figure out why the hell is that. Someone gave me a subscription. I wanted to say shout out to Big Poppy. Thank you for that. Thank you for that sub. Appreciate that. Much love to you. Going back to the box, we'll make it happen with, what do we have in here? I don't know what the hell that says, but we'll go ahead and click on it. I think it says Uncle James. Better to be called an Uncle James than that guy named Tom. Uncle James, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you feeling?
I'm doing good. How are you feeling under the Biden economy?
I have to I have to admit I'm doing well. I am doing quite well.
How are you doing under the Trump economy? How are you doing under the predecessor?
It was a bit of a struggle. I don't want to completely say that it was horrendous.
Was it Trump? You're doing well under Biden. You struggled somewhat under Trump. Do you blame either president on how you were doing economically? Do you blame Biden on the fact that you're doing well? Do you blame Trump for the fact that you struggled somewhat?
See, I think the best way to really answer that question, sir, is you have to understand exactly how business and economics work. And so there's a lot of people who will sit here and say that Trump did this or Trump caused that or Biden is responsible for this or Biden was responsible for that. And in most cases, neither one of those things are 100% true. I say that because if you look at, like, let's take, for example, when Trump came into office, right? The economy was extraordinary, but he inherited that from Barack Obama. Right.
Okay, but does he not get credit for that? I mean, he's been in office for 4. This is the point I'm making. Let's say he inherited a great economy from Obama. 4 years later, the economy is still awesome. Does he not get credit for maintaining? Because he could screw it up, and we would all blame him. So does he get credit for keeping it nice?
If that indeed had happened, then yes, we should give him full credit. But that ain't what happened.
What happened?
That really is not what happened. Yes, gas prices and everything went down, but the pandemic played a huge part in that. The fact that Trump had OPEC pumping out so much oil that you were putting American oil producers out of business. And this is not hyperbole, sir. This is all facts, stuff that can be found and verified. And my thing at the end of the day is simply this. And this is something that I think a lot of people miss, is that when you take out the emotional context of everything, it's just like the real question at the end of the day is whoever is sitting in the top chair, are they doing what's good for all Americans, not just a small group, not just a privileged group, but for everybody? That means from the guy who's making $5 an hour to the guy who's making $5,000 an hour. And if the answer to that is no, right? If the answer to that is no, whether they're Republican or Democrat is absolutely irrelevant. They're just bad for the country. Now, some will make the argument of this. If you go back and look throughout the history of every president, just go back, the last 20 years. Look at the state of the economy under Bush, then under Clinton.
Okay.
Then under Bush, Bush Jr., George W. than under Obama. I mean, and again, this is not stuff I'm making up. This is stuff that can be literally researched and found out very, very easily. When the Democrat was in office, the economy was good. When the Republican was in office, the economy took a hit. Now,
but wait a minute, hold on. Let's go with what you're saying. Democrats gave us good economies. It took a hit under Republicans. If you take the pandemic, which is something that is a once in a lifetime event, let's take the pandemic out of the picture. Pandemic started late 2019. First cases in America around late November, early December 2019 is when we had our first cases of COVID in this country. Trump was inaugurated in January 2017. From January 2017 to late December 2019, how was Trump doing on the economy?
I think he was still reaping the benefits from his predecessor. And again, I'm not saying that he was making policies that were destroying the economy. He was not making a lot of great decisions, but was he wholly just like day one destroying the economy? No, we can't actually say that. Whether you like him or not, you can't really say that. But again, at the end of the day, it's just like when you have something that you've inherited, it's not a matter of
but based on what you're saying, if Trump inherited a great economy from Obama, and we're giving that the asterisk on how his economy was being ran, here's what I think is unfair. Based on what you're saying, Trump cannot get good grades for the economy. The only thing he can get is negative. Because if we look at the economy as being, ran well in his first 2 years in office, we're going to blame it on Obama. If he had destroyed it, then we're going to blame it on Trump. So it's impossible for him to get a good grade under that mindset.
Let me look, if I might.
Sure.
Let me offer you an example. Before COVID hit, in the big way, COVID hit a number of years ago, right? And it was under George W. that we established COVID protocols. This is, again, not stuff I'm making up. They even did episodes of Law and Order of this back in the day, right?
Yeah, you're not going to get an argument from me that Trump mishandled the economy and that Obama left a plan. I'm not. You and I agree on that. Trump, I don't think he did well with the pandemic at all. I agree with that.
But because it affects the economy, here's basically what I'm saying at the end of the day, is that if simply following the plan, we would be in second term of Donald Trump right now. If he had simply made the choices like there's a plan in place, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? Mm-hmm. Because according to him, his own words were, "Oh, we're going to have a better plan. We've got something much better." These are things he said. I'm not here to like anger the MAGA people or whatnot. They're going to believe what they're going to believe. I'm going to believe what I'm believe. But if the man said himself, it's like, we got a better plan. We got this. And that never happened. Yeah. What does that tell us from a very realistic standpoint? Yeah. If he simply would have followed the plan that was already in place. And again, this wasn't Obama's plan. This was George W.'s plan, right? And just simply follow the plan. The economy would have been in a much better place.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think if you had a liberal in office, they would have shut the country down. And the economy was not going to do well under COVID, no matter what.
True. I completely agree with you, but it would not have taken the disastrous hit that we did across the board had we been able to implement the plan that was already in place. And again, I don't go for the, I try to keep everything like in terms of common sense, right? And is there verifiable information on all of this? Was there a plan in place? We all know that there was a plan in place. They documented all of this stuff. So when you say whether or not who's responsible for this or who's responsible for that, at the end of the day, it's just like every single president has a book from the previous guy that said, here's what I did right and here's what I did wrong. Maybe this can help you make better decisions and do even better. And I don't think at the end of the day that is a bad way for any president to go, because look, if you make fewer mistakes in the eyes of John Q. Public, that's grounds enough for you to be reelected. Yeah. And I want to real quickly just drop this one note about something you just said to the last commenter, the humble trucker about the age thing. A lot of people don't know this, and again, verifiable. back when Newt Gingrich and took over Congress, right? When they came in with a contract for America, look it up. Contract for America. One of the big selling points that got all of those guys elected was term limits. They didn't want, because I believe it was Robert Kennedy at the time.
Yeah, but what, I don't get your point. What point? We've been hearing about term limits for decades. What's your point?
So my point is, they came up with a plan to institute term limits to get all of these guys who were 50, 60 years in public office. It's like, it's time for you to retire, go home. Let's get some fresh blood, some fresh ideas in. When they finally achieved control of the House and Senate, what was the first thing they did? Oh, well, we need more time.
Yeah, that makes sense. You're not going to get people to vote to get rid of themselves. I mean, nobody's going to vote themselves out of a job. I got to move it on though, and the only way you're going to get term limits is to take it out of the hands of the people that term limits are going to affect. Until we do that, they're going to always vote against it. You wouldn't vote yourself out of a job, neither would I. Uncle James, though, I think this is our first time chatting.
And it won't be the last, sir. It will not be the last.
Definitely appreciate that. Come on back anytime, man. All right.
Great rest of your day, sir.
You too, and enjoy your weekend. Looking in the comments, the U.S. response was poorer than G6 countries' verified fact. I think the issue with the pandemic was President Trump at the time obviously was seeking re-election. We're talking about late 2019, and we voted in November 2024. So the pandemic hit about right now. What is it, January 2024 right now? If you go back exactly 4 years, this is when the pandemic was really starting to get a foothold in America. And you got the election 10 months and some change. The biggest accolade of President Trump, which still exists to this day, is he ran on his economy. So all of a sudden you done most of your term and the pandemic is kicking in. And the CDC, the FDA, even the World Health Organization is saying shut everything down, which is going to destroy your number one compliment, how well you're running the economy. What Trump was left with is, how can I keep a great economy while following what the CDC, FDA, Dr. Fauci, and all these people are recommending? And in effort to maintain a good economy, he started offering these mixed messages. Maybe we should shut things down, but I'll leave it up to the states, which is why Florida, which stayed open to this day, now looks like they did the right thing economically. But there's no way to get the people to follow behind a unified message when you're giving out, such a divided statement. You're on TV with Dr. Fauci, letting Dr. Fauci give the folks advice on what they should do. Then later that night, you're holding rallies, letting folks yell out, fire Dr. Fauci. And then the next day, you're back on the TV with Fauci again, letting know. So the messaging of Trump during the pandemic was awful. There's no denying it was awful. He's saying one thing, then at night he's holding rallies saying the exact opposite. And among MAGA, that divided message still lives to this day. Trump can't even tell MAGA to get vaccinated without getting booed. His mixed messaging did not help him on the pandemic at all, which is why I told the last caller, you're not going to ever get an argument from me that Trump mishandled the pandemic. Whether you think the country should stay open or you think the country should get vaccinated, make up your mind. He didn't make up his mind. He gave mixed messages the entire time he was in office during the pandemic. That's a problem. Even when he and his family got vaccinated, they didn't even come on TV and tell you. You ended up having a commercial featuring Clinton, Obama, Bush. I think maybe Carter was in that. They got on television feeling that, well, the White House is not giving you a unified message, so we'll do it. That's not good. No matter who you favor for president, that is not a unified message when you're doing one thing and telling people to do the other. Looking in the box, he even got people sick. That we can debate that. We know what is the guy? Herman Cain lost his life. Chris Christie, that's one of the reasons Chris Christie stated he decided to run against Trump, is that he caught COVID and was in a really bad way. And the only time Trump called him when he was in intensive care was to ask him, "You're not going to blame this on me, are you?" Chris Christie stated, I got his book, read his book, seen him do interviews. Chris Christie told Trump, according to Chris Christie, "I don't know if I got it from you for sure or not, so no, I'm not going to blame you." Trump said okay, gave him some pleasantries, got off the phone, and never called him again to check on him, even though Chris Christie claims he came close to death. Said the only time Trump called him was to verify, "You're not going to blame me for giving you COVID, right?" Once he assured Trump he wasn't going to blame him for it, Trump didn't have no other concern with his health or anything. So that's what Chris Christie said. Looking in the comments, president supposed to handle pressure, no excuses. I do agree with that, but everybody's human. Everybody's going to, handle pressure differently. I'm not going to blame. You should know the answer no matter what. I get it, but people sometimes, the humanity can come out. Looking in the comments, we'll keep it moving with Lala. That's a unique name. How are you faring under the Trump administration, and why are there so many different definitions for what happened on January 6th coming from Republicans? Lala, am I pronouncing that right?
3 years on isn't
Hello?
and it's even easy.
All right, apparently my last caller is deeply involved in the television, perhaps the news. Maybe they're learning something that I need to learn, but we'll keep it moving. Looking in the comments, we'll go straight to Sammy Allen. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. We've asked those two questions. I don't know what happened with that. Okay, apparently the box is acting flaky again. Appreciate you folks that are tapping the screen. There's something going. So Trump put your life in danger, and you okay with that? Depends on who you ask. There's no way in hell, if I felt somebody put my life in danger, I wouldn't be okay with it. But chances are the folks that support Trump do not believe he put their lives in danger. They don't believe that. A lot of folks do not believe COVID was as harmful as the likes of Dr. Fauci suggested. Depends on who you talk to. Make no mistake about it, both sides of the aisle gave what we now know were false statements concerning COVID. It was a novel virus. Nobody knew what it was. Some people painted it out to be Armageddon. Other people painted it out to be no worse than the flu. So it depends on who you're talking to. I mean, it didn't turn out to be as bad. Some people on the left were telling you if you don't get shot, you don't get the jab, you're going to be dead tomorrow. That's not true. Others were telling you that if you did get the jab, you're going to be dead tomorrow. That ain't true either. So both sides were overstating their points. I've been vaccinated, boosted. I've had everything they suggested you get. I had some of my beloved MAGA tell me I was going to pass away from that in 2021. By the end of the year, you're not going to be with us. I'm as healthy as I've ever been. So everyone has given false statements on it. I got vaccinated. I didn't do booster. Listen, I'm a fan of you do what you want to do. Let me do what I want to do. However, appreciate that crane, NC. Thank you. That is beautiful. Thank you for that crane. Cranes, plural. Thank you. Even more so. Wow. NC got me delighted over here. I appreciate those cranes. Those are beautiful. I will say this. I'm for people doing what they want. I'm for a lot of those beautiful cranes too, but I will say I'm for people doing what they want. However, you can't say that you should be able to avoid the jab, but your employer should have no say-so in who he wants to employ. If you believe in freedom, in your rights, you shouldn't be able to take the rights of other people away. You don't have to get jabbed in America. You don't. If you don't like where you're working and you don't like their policies, go work somewhere else. It's as simple as that. And I go with that. I do believe an employer should have the right to decide. Certainly if the government is saying that people who haven't gotten this is a health risk. No shoes, no shirt, no service. You don't just walk in here and say, my feet are clean. If the government says that this person is a health risk, or if my other customers are now all of a sudden not coming to my restaurant, and I got you sitting there because you bragging about how you haven't been jabbed, and I don't have any other business, your ass better be giving me a hell of a tip, or you can get your ass out of here. That's just my humble opinion. Looking in the comments, I got vaccine boosted, but my Spider-Man and X-Men powers haven't showed up. Have you attracted any magnets lately? Do you glow at night? These are some of the things people were saying was going to happen. By the way, I appreciate you folks tapping the screen. Get your boy up to 80,000. Still nearly 800 of you in here. Happy Friday to you all. You can be anywhere you want. I'm glad to have you here. Real quick, for those who may be viewing the program for the first time, we don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their comments. Had someone on YouTube suggest that a moderator took them out or something like that for their opinion on here. Folks, we don't have a moderator. I am the only one that controls if you get to stay or go. I've only gotten rid of, I think, 2 people in almost 2 years. There is no moderator. I don't have a single moderator on this program. I've had folks ask me, got in a direct message, could I be a moderator? And no, because everybody has a bias of some sort. Very few people are as passionate about free speech as I am. So I don't want to get a moderator that's a liberal and does not like hearing passionate opinions from MAGA, or MAGA that does not like hearing Trump attacked. Moderators can start literally leaning the content of the program to favor their own desires. We don't have a moderator. There's no moderator to this program. So anyone in the comments saying that they got taken out of the program, if TikTok didn't do it, it didn't happen. We don't have one. Never have had one. I reject all requests to moderate the program. Folks, we got this. All 6, 7, 800 of us, 1,000 of us, when we got this on our own. We make this work. And if you like that environment, follow the program. That's how we do it. Can you moderate the next presidential debate? Oh, would that not be fun, huh? Well, in regards to moderating the next presidential debate, if Trump is a candidate, we would probably need to have a liberal like Maxine Waters or Ilhan Omar. So Biden would not make a decent opponent for President Trump in a debate where we allow free speech. Now, Biden is known for saying, "Won't you shut up, man?" But Biden is still too, for lack of a better term, I get that he stumbles words and things like that, but he's still too dignified for someone like Trump, because Trump is going to speak without a filter. Like one of my callers back, a few callers back, Jerry, who was really passionate about Trump and his supporters on January 6th, Trump is going to speak without a filter. So if you're trying to have a civilized debate with somebody that looks you in the face and says your mama was ugly, you're going to lose all those debates because this person isn't following the rules. Like kind of getting in a boxing match with somebody that starts doing MMA moves on you when you're supposed to only use your hands in boxing. If you continue fighting like a boxer and they're using all these, you're going to lose. And I don't think Biden is used to going in the same arena as President Trump. I just don't think Biden, which is why I strongly believe come the general election, Biden probably should avoid debating Trump. I think Trump has opened the door for that. Folks would say, well, he's a sissy, or what is the term they use? I don't want to get politically incorrect, but folks would suggest that he's a wuss. He's a wimp. He don't want to go up against Trump because whatever. Trump has opened the door to skipping debates now. You can say that Biden is not showing up for whatever reason you want to fill in, but Biden now has the excuse, well, he didn't show up for one. He had his own reasons for why he didn't show up. Now I have my own reasons for why I don't show up, which is why I was strongly against folks on the right supporting Trump not showing up to a debate. I don't care if you're 50 points ahead or you believe that there's no need to debate these folks as you're so far ahead. You should have to show up to a debate. If you're running for office, you should have to show up to debates. Because, yeah, Biden can now say, how can you say something about me not showing up when you didn't? I think he's opened up the door to that. Anyhow, folks, you know what this is. I do appreciate you guys rolling with me on Friday. As always, you could always be anywhere, but it's always a pleasure having you here. 79,000 likes. A lot of you folks did tap the screen. We're here Monday through Friday, so if you enjoy this type of dialogue, follow the program. Helps out the algorithm, brings in more MAGA. MAGA are the preferred guests, but liberals are always welcome on the program. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone. Until Monday, you guys have a good one. It's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. I got to go. YouTube, I do appreciate you folks as well. Looking real quick in the comments on YouTube. You know I always give you guys a quick minute. Yep, my grandpa lost his business because of this 19 crazy shit, 1965. It's sad. I don't quite get that comment there, Tim Beers. Tim, why would you take the jab? It's going to take time to affect you. LOL, you ain't out of the woods yet. Well, I'm going to state what I said earlier. People told me I would be dead by 2021 of getting jabbed. That didn't happen. So now folks are saying what you're saying. Well, it'll be in the future sometime. Fact is, nobody knows. Very similar to COVID when it was a novel virus. Most folks don't know what it's going to do. We've never had anything like this. And most folks do not know the full extent of the jab or the vaccine. Most folks that are telling you you're going to die from the vaccine are not doctors. They're not virologists. They don't have a medical degree at all, yet they're making all of these diagnoses on people. I don't know. There's no way to know. So I'm not going to buy into the notion that you're going to pass away in 2021. If you're not dead in 2021, we'll move the bar to 2025. If you're not dead in 2025, maybe you'll have liver cancer by 2028. If you lived to be 100, you probably would have made 101 if you hadn't got vaccinated back in 2021. I don't know, but I do state that folks are saying this without any medical background at all. Now, I do agree in the comments with all praises to Yah. All praises to Allah almost sounds like, but all praises to you says doctors lie every day. That is true. That is true. There are plenty of physicians who told us cigarette smoking was healthy. However, when you got the bulk of physicians saying the same thing, that's different. That is a lot different than one person telling you you could lose a ton of weight by eating Big Macs every day. If you start having 70, 80% of doctors say that, that's different. And the overwhelming support of medical professionals, not only in America, but around the world, suggests you should get vaccinated. It's not just one doctor or a group of doctors over here with something to gain. Around the world, the overwhelming opinion is that you should be vaccinated. I'm not going to ignore that for somebody who has never had medical training at all. That makes a difference. Very similar to the argument on global warming. I'm not a environment. I don't study the environment. I'm not a meteorologist. I don't know anything about this shit. But the overwhelming majority of scientists believe global warming is real and it's man-made. Most of the folks pushing back, just like with COVID, just like with the vaccine, that are saying this stuff is illegitimate, it's not man-made, it's not real, it's in a site. They're not folks who study the environment. They're not folks that have a scientific background. It's folks that are just pushing back. So I'm going to, at least for now, unless I see something different, I'm going to go with the scientists. I'm not going with one scientist. I'm going with the majority of them. Overwhelmingly, the scientific community believes you should get vaccinated, and global warming is a real issue that is man-made and could be harmful in our lifetime at some point. That's what the opinion is. Until I get a little bit more education, I'm going to trust those who are more educated than me. It's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal.